Hey, it's Chris Nichols here from Bow River Trout Fitters. And actually this winter in Calgary, it's been pretty mild. Water temperatures have been a little bit warmer than normal and the fishing's been good. So I thought I'd get it on a warm day, do some winter nymphing. And actually the Bow River was really good to me that day. It also gave me a really good opportunity to test out the brand new Oros nymph indicators that we just got in the store. Haven't had a chance to use them until that day. Before that, I was using the Airlock indicators, and I do love those. So what I want to do today is actually really talk about the pros and cons to both of these indicators. So here we've got the Airlock indicators, here we've got the Oros indicators, and the first thing I want to actually touch on is just how similar they are to each other, because they do actually share a lot of similar design traits. So the first thing I love about both of these indicators is you can put them onto your leader and they don't kink the line, you're not making loops, you're not bending, you're not folding anything. Also, when you loosen them, you can very quickly and conveniently adjust the depth that your flies are going to run at. You can just move these indicators up your leader to get deeper drifts or down your leader to get more shallow drifts, and that is by far the most convenient thing out of both of these. Both of these indicators are also made out of a foam type material, and they're both supposed to biodegrade in the environment. I mean, that's testing is beyond the scope of this video, but they come in many different colors. They are quite buoyant, and they do come in different sizes, so you can match them to heavier flyer rigs or lighter flyer rigs. But let's now get into the differences here. So first, let's talk about the pros and cons of the Airlock indicators. I've used these for years. They're a fantastic product. The way they're designed does have some ramifications for your nymph fishing. So first off, these attach by having this little plastic cap that comes off. You've got a rubber stopper on there to grip your leader, and you just slot it right through the screw and then lock it down again with the cap. And again, this is very easy to adjust. One thing I will say about the caps, yes, they're small parts and they are easy to lose. I mean, when I was out there on that particular day, I actually noticed two of them. You can see them here. Two caps are actually sitting in the ice. Obviously, whoever was fishing here before lost them and had no idea. And that is a thing with these. You do want to have a lot of spare caps around. The other thing I will say is sometimes to really get them to grip onto the leader, you got to really reef on these caps. And I have been known to use my teeth or pliers to just get enough torque to really lock them down. Otherwise, when you are fishing them, sometimes they will slip, even just from casting or dragging and swinging in the water. That can often pull them deeper down your leader. You're going to want to check that. Now, one thing I do like about this cap coming off the side, though, is that when this is in the water, the fly line and flies will pull it in a downward position. And that actually gives you really good buoyancy, because then that's under the water. The actual airlock itself then has that buoyancy in the water. And I do find that the airlocks, this is a 3/4 inch size, are pretty universal. I can go lighter rigs, I can go heavier flies, and I still don't find that it ever really sinks. Now, these airlocks actually used to be a solid plastic balloon. I mean, they were unsinkable, but with this biodegradable foam, one thing I do like about the airlocks is whatever material they use here, you can squish it quite a bit. You can push your fingernail into it and stuff like that. It actually seems to return to shape quite nicely. So if this is like jammed in your fishing bag and it's getting a little crushed, I still find that they actually float really nicely. One downside, major downside with the airlocks that I do find a little bit frustrating while fishing, because of the way that your leader's coming off the side of the indicator, if you are doing some false casting or your cast is a little bit too tight of a loop, sometimes you'll find that your leader will actually catch and hook on to that cap, and that can be really frustrating. Okay, but now we've got the Oros indicators here. Now, these are a really smart idea. You basically have two halves that you unscrew. There's your slotted screw. Again, the leader goes right through there, and then you lock it down here just by attaching these two halves together. Now, the smart thing there is there's no small parts to really worry about keeping track of or losing or wearing out, so I really do like that. The other thing I like about this is when you're casting them, unlike the airlocks, there's no way of having that leader cross over and catch on here. It's just going to slip right off the rounded surface of the Oros, so I didn't have any sort of hang-ups or tangles where my leader got locked up onto the indicator. I will say that this material, although also biodegradable foam, compared to the airlocks is maybe not as rugged. I mean, if I push on this with a fingernail, it seems to leave an indent that's going to stay there. So whoever buys this now from the shop, you got my fingernail indent in there. So I do find if you're using the Oros indicators, you got to protect them a little bit more. Maybe put them in a case if you're going to put them in your fishing bag. Don't let them press against any hard objects or get crushed or compressed, because they basically won't work as well after that. Now, as I mentioned earlier, with the airlock indicators, just because they're designed, I find that they tend to ride higher in the water, or a little bit more buoyant, and can hold a little bit more weight effectively. With the Oros, because the leader is going through the middle of the indicator, once the weight of the flies pulls down, I find that these sit deeper in the water. So you might have to go to a larger indicator for the same amount of weight compared to the airlocks, or you might find that this just sinks a little bit lower in the surface of the water. It might be harder to see, harder to detect strikes. So you've got two excellent products here to use as nymph indicators. And again, I find with the airlocks, they were a little bit more rugged. They tend to sit a little bit higher in the water, but you can sometimes tangle your leader on them. With the Oros, I find these easier to cast, also no small parts that are easy to lose. Regardless, these both work very well, and you can get them in different sizes to match to different weights of rigs. This still doesn't replace having yarn indicators, New Zealand type indicators, when you want to go very delicate, very low presence on the water. But for most of the nymph fishing we do here in Alberta, these are both great choices. But hey, please leave comments below. Let us know if you have any questions about either of these products. We'd be happy to answer those. And if there's any nymph indicators that you really like, you can leave that below too. We always appreciate the information. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe. We've always got more educational content, and we don't want you to miss it. Check out BoRoTroutfitters.com while you're at it for all the gear that you need. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you soon.